Hi, this is Tim from fititmidlife.com, and today I have the Reebok Nano 9, the newest official CrossFit training shoe from Reebok for the year 2019. We are going to compare it to the Reebok Nano 8, which came out last year, but we're also going to compare it to the Nike Metcon 5, which was, of course, the biggest cross-training shoe launch of the year so far. So stick around and find out how these shoes compare.
Okay, let's take a look at these shoes. So this is the Reebok Nano 9. New for 2019. You can see that flex weave is still in use for the upper. This is a very lightweight, breathable, but tough weaved upper. And it is very comfortable, very breathable shoe. And it is what was used in the previous iteration, the Nano 8. Got traditional laces with 6 eyelets. Got a relatively thickly padded tongue. On the heel, we can see the CrossFit branding. So Reebok is the only company, they have the exclusive rights to naming a shoe as a CrossFit shoe, although that expires this year. And on this side, we can see the Rope Pro. This is a wraparound midsole area. This is meant for climbing ropes. So you got the tough sole material kind of comes up around the side. Combine that with the new rubber protection wrap. So this part is new in the Nano 9. This is very tough. So between the Rope Pro here, the new rubber protection wrap, and then flex weave, which is very tough to begin with, this should be a very durable shoe, including for rope climbs. On the sole, it's labeled Metasplit. We've got what you would expect, a very flat but high traction kind of indoors tread. These are meant to be used in the gym, in the box. They're not meant for trail runs or anything like that. These work great in dry conditions. But again, they don't have a deep tread because you want to be able to lift weights in these and you don't want to be smooshing around with a deep tread on the bottom of the shoe. And the feature that everybody loves about the Nanos, the nice wide toe box. So that feature is still here as well. Let's compare the Reebok Nano 9 to the Reebok Nano 8. So you can see very similar. The Nano 9 was a incremental improvement over the Nano 8. You can see we have flex weave in both, regular laces, thick padded tongue. The only difference from the side is that new rubber protection wrap, which again wraps 2/3 of the way around the shoe. You do not have that on the Nano 8. I do believe the Nano 9 will be a more durable shoe because of that. Collar is very similar, as is the heel, and both shoes have the wraparound outsole Rope Pro with the 9 having the rubber protection wrap as well. The soles, very similar, flat, ideal for indoors, gym and traction, less so for the outdoors, but still pretty competent shoes. So, to be honest, the 8 and the 9, they feel similar. If I wear this one day, I wear the Nano 8 the next, really hard to tell a difference. Reebok has made small incremental improvements. They haven't made a revolutionary change to the shoe with the Nano 9. And I think that's a good thing. So these are great shoes. The 8s were great. The 9s are great. The wide toe box, the comfort, the flex weave, very good shoe, great for working out, great for use in the gym, but great for use elsewhere as well. So I would say, if you like the Nano 8, you need new shoes, the Nano 9, they've got some nice color combinations, would be a great option. If you haven't worn out your Nano 8s and you like them a lot, then they'll probably hold you for a while as well. Okay, so let's compare the Nike Metcon 5, which is brand new for 2019, to the Nano 9. The Metcon 5 is newly launched as of June. You can see they've brought back the 3D haptic print that they've used most recently. It is more overlap and more dense in the high wear areas, less dense where you want breathability and you have less wear. The rope wrap section has become absolutely massive, but they've also added it's got a tread pattern to it, so it should provide very good traction for climbing ropes. The sole, very flat, but high traction indoor kind of sole. Again, these are meant for in the gym, in the box. They're not really meant for trail runs and stuff like that. You don't really want a lot of tread to mush down when you're doing heavy weightlifting. In the back is like a knife edge on the heel. This helps reduce drag when you're doing handstand push-ups against the wall, things like that. And you can see that the tongue on these is actually pretty thin. The biggest difference with the Metcon 5 over the Metcon 4 is the cushioning in the drop-in midsole. So this is the drop-in midsole out of a Metcon 5. It is a dual density midsole. There are two different pieces of foam in use here. The orange is the heel. It's very dense, very hard to depress. The forefoot provides much more cushioning, significantly more cushioning. And again, dual density, clearly two pieces in there. You can see it's absolutely huge too. Compared to the drop-in on the Nano 9, which is very thin, one piece of foam, and it doesn't really provide a whole lot of cushioning, to be honest. And so the difference you can feel in the Metcon 5 as opposed to the previous Metcons, a heck of a lot more cushioning. Now, that has also meant an increase in weight. That heavier midsole, along with the bigger rope wrap and things like that, this Metcon 5 weighs in at 13.6 ounces as well. So both shoes, same size men's, 13.6 ounces, both have added weight. The heel to toe drop in the Metcon 5 is 4 millimeters, exactly as it is in the Reebok Nano 9. And generally in a cross-training shoe, you want a minimum of heel to toe drop. The heel to toe drop is the difference, the height difference of your heel, between your heel and your toe. So if you're familiar with a pair of lifters, they have a gigantic heel raise because that helps you get deep in a squat. It helps minimize ankle range of motion and things like that, and generally recommended for squats, snatches, clean and jerk, and all those sorts of things. But when you've got a cross-training shoe, you want it to be more versatile. So we're running, we're jumping, box jump, skipping rope, we're climbing, we're lifting weights, we're doing it all. We want a more versatile heel-to-toe drop, and that's the 4 millimeter that these two shoes provide. The difference with the Nike is it includes this, what they call a hyperlift. This is a drop-in wedge, feels to be the same material as that dual-density midsole. You simply drop this in, stays in place quite well, and that gives you an additional 8 millimeters in a men's, 6 millimeters in a women's of heel raise, so that these shoes then become a little bit better for squats and wall balls and things like that. It sounds good in theory. The only problem with this is you drop this in, so you have an extra 8 millimeters of heel raise, but you know the collar of the shoe hasn't really changed height, and then it feels different, it fits differently, and these don't really have a real deep heel socket to begin with. So to be honest, I don't use the hyperlift all that often, but they do include those. The Nano 9, on the other hand, there is no drop-in. You could probably add something to it, but you get 4 millimeter heel-to-toe raise. I will say the thing I like about the Nano 9, this deeper heel cup, it comes up higher. It's deeper. It fits better. It's much larger than that in the Metcon 5, and I do prefer this, the Nano over the Metcon in that regard. Let's talk about the toe box. So again, we talk about the wide toe box of the Nano. Compare that to the less wide, the more narrow toe box of the Metcon. The Metcons have always been like this. So people with wide feet, the Nano is probably still your choice over the Metcon shoe for that reason. I can make do with either because I have relatively narrow feet, but these are super comfortable, especially in the toe box. And in the Nikes, actually recommending people go half size up compared to the Metcon 4. So these are 11.5s. I wore an 11 in the Metcon 4. Had to move up to an 11.5 in the Metcon 5 because the fit is a little bit different. The forefoot flexibility, the Metcon has flex grooves both in the sole but also in the drop-in midsole. It's got pretty good forefoot flexibility, less so in the Nano. I don't know if this makes a practical difference from a performance standpoint, but be aware that there's better forefoot flexibility there. And the other question people want to know, do the Metcon still squeak? So if you're familiar with the shoes, the previous iterations of the shoes were pretty noisy. The Metcon squeak is the drop-in midsole rubbing against the interior of the shoe, and it made kind of a weird scrunching sound. Now, does that matter in a gym shoe, in a performance shoe? Not so much, but they were noisy shoes. Happy to say the Metcon 5 makes no noise whatsoever. It is a very quiet shoe, and that was one of the reasons that drove many people to the Reeboks from the Nikes, because of that squeak. But the squeak is now gone in the Metcon 5. Who's the winner? The Metcon 5 has more cushioning, in my opinion. It is a comfortable shoe, but it is narrower. If you like the feel of the Nano 8, if you like the wide toe box, the Nano 9 is probably the shoe for you. Otherwise, it might be the Nike. Gotta be honest though, these are both great shoes. I wear both all the time, and both work great in the gym and elsewhere. So you really can't go wrong with one or the other. I hope this video has been helpful. If you like this sort of in-depth shoe review content, please subscribe. We post these regularly, and we will have a longer-term update on the Reebok Nano 9 posted in a few months. Thank you. Have a good day.